Okay. My name is Ramirez, and this is a journal entry. So, for those who are looking for something conspiratorial, this is not for you. This is a journal entry in, I would say, scribing my experiences in my life. So, nothing conspiratorial. But usually, this will involve the conspiracy of men and why they're weak, because I'm using me as a prime example in this case study of how I used to be one way and how I've learned that that is not the way to live. Those are just learned behaviors that I've accumulated through my life experience, and just how this world made me was not the way that should have been intended for human beings. I don't know if that makes sense, but whatever. This is called My Lessons in Fear. So this is again a journal entry. So this is just some really cringe stuff based on my life. Where do I start? Yeah, so I already wasted 11 minutes in a different recording, so now I'm doing it again. But something I could start off with chronologically. Um, this is me describing events from the time that I got rejected from that girl and whatever weeks moved forward from that, and getting over it, and then something happening on the 27th where I really incurred this really mysterious heartache, and I wrote a journal piece down. Um, then I started going through my old writings, and I felt the message that stuck with me the most was that I was holding on to something, and that I still needed something to let go of. And going through those old writings, I discovered what it was. The overall theme is um, so my whole life, I like talking about this a lot, but my whole life I grew up fat. I grew up being able to be very keenly aware of people's facial expressions, and being aware of that, and being a fat kid, right? Um, you're a very undesired, um, in a lot of ways. Um, I can't pinpoint any of them specifically, just because every fat kid's experience is different, and how you get bullied is very different too. But that was just my experience overall, and because I was always in those circumstances of it wasn't fear, it was more anxiety, right? So I can identify what those emotions were at those times. And in reading my old writings, I realized that um, most of what I've incurred were just how do I say? A very difficult idea to describe. So let's just go back to after I got rejected by that girl. Um, I just told myself day by day, one step forward at a time. Who cares, right? So moved on from it and just stopped caring about it. Um, and kind of started focusing on myself and just continuing to push along forward, and not allow any of those past what do you I call them loopholes, but essentially self-feeding mechanisms where I it's like there's no reason for me to care anymore, right? But my past self wouldn't have found it so easy. I would have just ran ideas in my head over and over again about XYZ. This could have been different, or this or that. Like, none of that happened this time. So I thought it was a pretty good positive thing. And there was so much there was a lot more that I let go of. So it was a very nice shedding moment where I'm just like letting go of these old aspects of myself, because usually any time that something like that would happen, I would get a little sad, and then I'd be like, then I don't want to work out, then I don't want to eat correctly, I want to splurge, I want to do this, I want to do that, right? But this time around, didn't really happen. I still maintained my eating habits. I still maintained my workout schedule. I still maintained my work schedule, my writing schedule. Like, I didn't really let myself fall out of my own cycle, and I was really happy about that. It showed me that there was still, right, that I could step forward from that and not allow my past trauma or not allow my past experiences to kind of hinder me. And in the process of thinking all that out, on the 27th, I wrote a journal entry called Mysterious Heartache. And I have no idea where it came from, like, at all. Like, it really took me aback because it was a type of heartache that I've never felt before. Like, I've been rejected a variety of different ways. Probably shouldn't even talk about that. But it was just very weird. Couldn't explain it to you, right? I have plenty of other experiences that I can pull from to understand that that feeling was very different from every other feeling. And I didn't know why. Like, and I guess now that I think about it, it was me accepting the fact that if I allowed myself, right? So this is kind of weird. If I allowed myself to give up completely, I felt that's what that emotion would feel like, where I would completely write off all, right? Like, if I were to completely write off my future, if I were to say that cringy shit of never again, I'm never dating any other woman, I'm gonna die alone forever, or saying some stupid shit like that, I felt that's kind of what that would feel like, especially because I'm kind of not allowing myself to. I'm not allowing myself to be very coy with somebody. I'm not allowing myself to. Like, I literally tied myself to a post and I'm not allowed to leave. Like, that's the way I'm viewing this whole situation. And I was also thinking about because there was something that was told to me, like, and it kind of lingered in my head. You're still holding on to something that you need to let go of. There's still something, like, right, that person didn't know what it was, I didn't know what it was, but it stayed there, and I thought about it just in case. You know what I mean? Like, I never know if there was anything actually holding me back. There was myself. I had addressed every single emotion that ever hindered me, but I never addressed the fact that I allowed that. I never addressed that fight, like, right, the final boss, your shadow self, right? Fucking Nega Scott from it's that movie from Scott Pilgrim versus the World where he has to fight himself. And at the end of it, he doesn't fight himself. He just accepts himself, right? They set up a whole fucking, like, hey, let's go get coffee sometime or some stupid shit, right? That was the end of that. But and it was like, basically the last thing that I'm really confronting with myself is, it's you, right? Like, I've let myself be into, right? I'm so used to living in doubt and fear and, all those negative emotions that stop you from doing anything. I can't believe I allowed myself for so long to just listen to it, not recognize it. It's kind of the word that I'm looking for. That I've never recognized the fact that I was afraid of not being afraid anymore. I was afraid of not being worried anymore. I was afraid of not living in doubt anymore, right? I was in doubt of not having more doubt in the future. Like, I don't even know if that makes sense. It's like, what the fuck? Like, really weird how not living in those turmoil states is what I was holding on to. Is the fact that I would never feel those things ever again anymore. Because to some degree, they gave me solace. Looking at my old writings and looking through all that old garbage, I realized that I really did depend on those emotions a lot when I was growing up. And not okay, right? Like it's accepting these parts of yourself and moving forward from them. So kind of weird that I was that it became very apparent to me, right? And I guess that's where I'm at now, is letting go of the doubt that is preventing me from mentally moving forward. Because mentally moving forward means that I no longer need this aspect of myself. And like, right, the internal me is like, no, 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 I still need that. Like, you can't throw that away. And I'm like, nah, it's time. Like, now more than ever, I could actually like really pinpoint all this down. But a very new a very new way of living for me personally, because there's always this personal insecurity about everything. There was always these worries about everything. There was always these doubts about everything. And when I think about it now, when I think about those ideas right now, what I feel is that journal entry. And that journal entry is, it's nothing bad. It's not, I don't know how to say this. Like, nothing happened. Nothing. This journal entry's not hurting me. In reality, what's hurting me is the fact that because I allowed myself to feed into those thoughts, I'm preventing myself from doing anything meaningful towards the things that I find appealing. I don't know if that's the word I should be using, but let's just say during the time of me getting rejected by that girl and me moving forward to writing that 27th the August 27th journal entry, something sparked in me, and it made me realize that I was feeling a sort of way. That I was feeling a sort of way towards someone, but because of the doubt, fear, and all of these other things, you know what I mean? Like, I tied myself to a fucking tree in the middle of nowhere, and I told myself, you're not allowed. Can't. Stay the fuck away. Like, and a lot of that came with, and this leads up to Hector, right? I could actually mention Hector. So yesterday I had a phone call. Or not a phone call, it was on Discord. My buddy who lived here in LA, well, he lived in East LA. He moved to Washington, D.C. to help a friend of his take care of a sick uncle. But the mom, the mom of his friend deemed them unworthy of doing that job, that the mom told both of them, kick rocks. Like, I actually don't want any of you two taking care of our old uncle. So my buddy Hector had to then go somewhere else, but he's in Washington, D.C. right now. Either way. I actually showed one of his videos in one of the Matrix news, but Hector and me had a call, but there was something that he said earlier, and like, I'm not the type of person to admit that I'm jealous or that I have some sort of like envy, but Hector's a very tenacious kind of person. He has a sort of tenacity to him, and while all this shit is occurring, right, this dude messages me some shit, and he's all like, finally, I've done something, right, and I can thrive. And I'm like, all right, cool, dude. And I remember just telling him, like, you know, it makes me really jealous that you're so tenacious with this sort of thing. And he wrote something else. Basically, that chat led up to us having a phone call, and just realizing, like, now it's coming full circle, in the sense that I understand that it's just been me this whole time. Because even he said it in the conversation too, and I was just like, damn, fool. Like, it's so weird how a random ass conversation, a random ass call could just lay it all out for me. And I learned that, right? Like the 27 post, or me tying myself to a tree and being like, "You're gonna stay out here in the middle of." It's just what allowed all this was just my doubt, my worries, my fears, and all this stuff that I've been holding on to for all these years. But to chalk all that up, right? These are not separate things. In reality, it's just me. It's me stopping myself. It's me allowing this sort of thing. So what motivates that part of me is the fact that I don't want to live without all these worries, doubts, fears, and all this other shit, right? That's the last thing that I needed to let go of. And right, and this is where the concept of self-confidence came in, right? Like there was this like brain moment where I was just like, is this what self-confidence is? It was so embarrassing. I was like, what the fuck? But yeah, in a weird way, this is what self-confidence really is having the confidence in yourself to do whatever the fuck bullshit you're gonna do. It's a novel idea, right? Whoa, man, you just discovered, man, self-confidence. It felt like that Scott Pilgrim moment where, like, the little thing went up. Is this? You got one up. You got a one life. And how I developed this, or how all of this chalked out, was just so weird to me, because I'm still deadly afraid. I'm still deadly afraid over nothing, right? Because the person that I got the advice from, right? You're still holding on to something. You're still holding on to something. Was yeah, I don't think I'm gonna talk about that ever. Like, I don't know if I should untie myself from that tree. I don't know if I should actually allow myself to even act freely. Just because I don't think I should. Because I don't. The way I look at it, right? Like, if I'm about to do any meaningful engagement with the opposite sex, I feel like I would need my life in order before I do any of that bullshit. And but it was nice to know. Relax. It was nice to know that why is it so difficult for me to say this word, right? I just want to say earnest. Earnestly. The word earnestly. It's a very novel idea, right? Like, it's coming from such a weird place for me that it's hard to word. That I could earnestly kind of upset myself that I can't word this. Only 18 minutes in. Only 18 minutes in. That I could earnestly have developed an interest in someone. That's weird for me. Very weird for me. And it was that seed that it's like I just struck gold, dude, right? It feels like, whoa, what did I just strike, right? A bursting pipe. Yes, this feels like a bursting pipe. A pipe of bursting emotions. And but earnestly, right? Like, it didn't come from yeah, how do I word that? It didn't come from the fact that I'm looking at this person and it's their looks. I'm not looking at this person, or it's the things that they did, or it's the things that they do. It's like I earnestly developed an interest in someone because of who they are. Like, to me, it's still strange, but this weird mix going on in me is kind of freaking me out. But it is what it is. I guess the best thing that I could describe this as, right? There's a manga. I read a lot. There's a manga where it's where one kid, like the beginning of the story involves this kid developing, well, it's not that he developed, it's that he has this crush on this one girl. And the story revolves around him and four other ones, and that there's percentages, right? It's like a weird online manga, right? So it's not published. It's only, and it only releases 2 pages at a time, right? So there's one page, another page, and that's it. Most manga is 12 to 24. But the story's already progressed hella far, right? And today, this morning, I finally read the chapter where he finally goes on a date with the girl that he originally started off liking. But by this point in time in the story, there was someone else in between that he spent all this other time with, and that other person also, right? Like, you know, Japanese manga and Japanese vanilla love stories, where, right, it created a conflict within the character, where he now understood the superficiality that came about with this first crush, but it kind of gave him insight into what the earnest side of developing interest in somebody was. Kind of weird that kind of tied together today, but the way I see it now, it's like a weight. It's like a weight off my shoulders, because I wanna explode with all this emotion. I wanna be like loud. I wanna say all this other shit. It's like, dude, it's 5 a.m. Relax, chill. But yeah. As much as I wanna burst, as much as I wanna go guns a blazing, some very new feeling in me, and starting from a very new position, because it feels like, I don't know. In the description, I wrote a fool's journey, because that's what it feels like. It finally feels like I got to zero. Finally, like finally realized all these other things that like I'm ready to start a new journey, with one without all of that dumb past shit, right? Like, cause now, like, I didn't even want to do an episode today, just because. Yeah, I could talk about that. There's my very first Catholic school. My very first Catholic school that I went to was Saint Matthias, or Saint Malachi's, actually. Saint Malachi's. It's like, it's a small little Catholic church that's not that far away from here. But what was I gonna mention about? Right, like now it's even harder for me to remember what I. Oh, right. That was the first time ever that I had summer school, and I remember being told that, like, you really need to do this, but right, that's not what affected me. It was just the first time ever in my life that I, by myself, earnestly tried my hardest at something. Like, I did. I still can't believe it to this day. I had to catch up on, like, a lot of work. Like, a lot of work. I was a sixth grader, right? I had to catch up on my vocabulary, my English. I can't remember what exactly it was. I just remember the vocabulary. I just remember constantly practicing on index cards, right? And I remember when I took it super serious, dude, I walked away with all A's. Like, I got all A's. Even the teacher was like, "Did you cheat?" Like, the teacher was like, "Let me see your notes, little nigga. Like, what did you do? Like, how did you get these grades?" And it stuck with me. I was like, wow. Like, it felt really good. That was the first time I ever tried my hardest at something. That obviously wouldn't last that long because 2 years later, I would encounter the teacher that would make me hate homework for the rest of my life. But I'm getting that feeling now, where the work that I'm putting towards this, my drawings, um, the new concepts that came to me recently about another little project that I'm gonna start working on, for clothing. But I feel like that again. I feel like that time where I was just hella hard practicing on my vocabulary and like earnestly putting in work towards something without any of the worries of X, Y, or Z or this or that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a very new, it's very new for me. I'm pretty sure there are hundreds of other people that, one way or another, already confronted this side of them. But I guess late bloomer and all. Very interesting how all of this occurred. And talking to Hector, like I realized, I really realized, I hate that feeling so much. I dislike it so much. Feeling how do I say this? Feeling powerless, feeling helpless, um, and allowing the circumstances to trap me in. Like I've allowed myself to do that so much that it's like, oof, oof. Like I really dislike it now. I've grown to really dislike that, and I think it's a good lesson because I can't remember where I heard this, but I'd imagine that's where a lot of married men kind of fall into. And me seeing the way my family ended up, I don't want that for my future. Like, I make it an active thing where if I can learn something that'll make me a better individual by in turn making, if that right, because I turned out the idea that if I could become a better individual, I could become a good father. But those two things are very different. Because one needs to be a position of, like, as a parent, you need to learn self-sacrifice, right? You need to learn other things. But just a lot that I've prepared myself mentally for. And mm, feels good to make strides, but it's still got them little pringly feelings all over me because this is kind of cringe. Nobody likes to talk about this stuff. Nobody likes to talk nor mention the fact that they feel trapped in like four walls. And when I say that some married men feel that way is because they never discovered themselves, is what I'm saying. Um, it's not that the marriage life is what causes that. It's what highlights it. There will be an inevitability that confronts um, their situation, and it's usually why marriages fail, and it's because dishonesty and a variety of other tactics and whatever. Like modern marriage is not something you could look at and be like, this is how it's gonna play out for everybody. Well, it's just because people are shit. You know what I mean? Like if you add two shit, you know what I mean? Like if not very, it's not a very good analogy, but you have two shit people, mix them together. Of course, you're gonna get a shit marriage, right? Like everybody's unbalanced. But this is unbalanced. This is unbalanced. Put this in an equation, it's only gonna give you a very lopsided answer. Like it's not gonna be very conducive to a healthy circumstances. Um, but that's more a problem of like culture, people, decisions, moralities, and all this other sort of stuff. So can't really use that as an example, but because at this point, all I really care about is I gotta be a better person. I gotta be a better individual. I gotta have a better outlook of life. I gotta have better. I don't know, right? Like I just don't know. It makes me. right at the beginning of this video, I was still kind of like, ooh. Now I'm kind of like, you know what? I'm kind of happy that I get to move forward towards a new direction in life with this outlook, because it expands my horizon. It expands my view and my perspective on stuff. And I really appreciate that. Like, some people would look at me and be like, yo, that's some real cringe shit, fool. Like, why you talking about this? Like, why you talking about your feelings and shit? The fuck, who on YouTube wants to hear that shit, dog? They're gonna judge you. Like, I could just imagine, like, what the perception of all this would be. But in reality, it's just like, I guess it reminds me, I'm really good with stories, but it reminds me of a buddy of mine, Omar. He used to live across the street from me. Played football together once, when we were like kids. But he was a gang member from Florence, right? Spent his whole life in the gang, and he joined the gang because his dad wasn't around, right? And he literally told me this. This isn't something that I came to a conclusion on myself. Like, he even recognized it in himself, that like, I made all these decisions because, one, I was spiteful of my dad. Two, I was disconnected from my mom. And he didn't say it in those words exactly, right? Because hood people don't speak that well English. But I saw a very different side of him, and he's doing so much better now, right? Like, he literally left the hood. He was just like, look, I have a kid. He prioritized his child over everything else. And the way I saw it was like, wow, you made the decision that not a lot of dads make. You made the decision of taking priority. That was, is that weird to say that made me happy? That he made those decisions? But this was a few years ago. I don't know. And you know, it's funny, like, I recently talked to some of the Florence members, and I asked them, like, yo, what's up with Omar? Has he been around? And they're like, nah, he hasn't showed up at all. He lives where he's at now, and he's still working in construction and doing all this other stuff. And I was like, damn, that's, you know what I mean? How life can change. And it was hella funny, right? Like, when I re-met Omar, he asked me a question that I still remember to this day, like, answering with no doubt in my mind. He asked me, if it came down to it, would you take, like, would you involve yourself in a gang, like in a shootout or some shit? And I told him, no, like, I barely know you. Like, what the fuck? Like, this was the day we got to reconnect. Because the last time that me and him ever spoke was when we were in elementary. No, I was in middle school. It was years, right? So I told him straight up, no. Like, dude, no offense, I barely know you. And I remember just saying, like, that's not my politics. Like, right? That's some other shit. It's kind of funny because later in life, there were other circumstances where I was in a situation like that, and I was just like, nah, that's not my politics. That's your shit, right? Like, and I don't know if I affected him or whatever, but to see him make the decision of choosing his kid over everything else, that puts a good feeling in the soul. But either way, the things, how man progresses, how man makes decisions, and it's interesting. And I guess I'm in that position right now, where I do not want to feel that way anymore. I want to let go. I want to let go of that feeling of that hindering feeling. Like, I need to stop stopping myself. Like, right? Like, the only thing I know for a fact that's stopping me right now is myself. It's just me being afraid of not living in afraid. Like, me not having doubt, fear, this or that. Like, me not having these emotions is what I'm afraid of moving forward in life. So like for literally the past week and a half, like I could be honest with this, right? For the last week and a half, I've been telling myself, shut the fuck up, go back to work. Where like I'll find situations in myself that I'll just tell myself like, yo, like what if this, what if that, what if this, and I'm just like I can internally see myself looking at myself like, can you just shut the fuck up? You ever thought of that option? And just telling myself like, yo, back to work, like who gives a fuck, dude? This is just a waste of time. Like it's nice to feel that way. um I don't think any weird to say, but yeah. um One day at a time, one step at a time is the way I just repeated it myself. One day at a time, day by day, and one step at a time, step by step. That's what I've been telling myself. It's like I don't know if I learned it somewhere. I don't know where it came from, but it's what I've been telling myself ever since I got rejected by that girl. Cause like I'm not gonna lie, like there was a part of me that was like, I'm never gonna feel anything. Fuck all this shit. I'm done. Like, not like in the way of fuck this hoe or this or that. Like, nah, it was more of it just felt impossible for me. Cause you know what I mean? Like, not many people would believe in what I believe in. And you know what I mean? Like marriage isn't a final science, but the way I see it is like, this is what I want. But if I want this, how am I going to get this if every other female that I've met is just different flavors of like what the fuck? Like again, allowing my fear, the self-doubt, all this other shit. Now I just don't care. It's been the hardest lesson of like my own life. Yeah, I could read a self-help book. Yeah, I could go do this or that, but in a weird way, like the way I internalize it is, if I don't do it myself, if I don't internalize this myself and then supplement it with literature later, I feel like I don't learn. I'm very hard headed. Um, like I'm so hard headed. I think you can break coconuts on my head. Like I don't know what other way to say it. Like it's just it is what it is, and it's just me understanding myself. I guess very hard headed, stubborn almost. But uh, whatever. I've already wasted 38 minutes of this. Not wasted, but you know what I mean. I don't know. I feel in a very new. I guess I don't know. I don't know. And if anybody from the conspiratorial stuff watches this video, for today, I don't think I have anything. Like, I realistically don't really know what to talk about. Like, I could talk about the Gospel of Mary and how it gives validation towards tarot, towards divination practices. I could talk about the differences between Western astrology and the Vedic system of the Hindus, or I could talk about their two systems. I could talk about a variety of other things. I could pull something out of like whatever, but I just today I'm gonna take a rest day. Um, Mentally, you know these learnings they're heavy on the soul. You know the body. Nah. Thanks for everything. Honestly.